Ever since I was a wee little dwarf obsessed with rock and stone, I have been hopping between Destiny and Warframe. You may have grown up on Halo 3 and a special substance, but me, I grew up on Destiny. Yeah, it wasn't fun. Destiny 2 is an egregiously terrible game with a brilliant foundation and a fundamental downgrade practically every single year. The only good thing about the game was the original campaign, rest in peace, and the Forsaken expansion, rest in peace again, as well as the Witch Queen expansion. But with the release of Lightfall, Bungie was somehow able to destroy me so entirely that I finally snapped out of my Stockholm syndrome.
Snap out of it!
After being brutally scammed by Bungie over and over again with the most asinine content drops, comically low quality expansions, and a quite literal, undeniable, undebatable, straight up scam, aka Lightfall, I no longer suffer from sunk cost fallacy or even my decade long Stockholm syndrome. I am no longer a Destiny 2 fan. No longer will I have to explain to my friends what insane number of shitty, wildly overpriced DLCs they have to buy as a new player. No longer do I have to defend Bungie's rampant predatory practices when it comes to making the battle pass $15 when claiming it was only $11, as they made it so that it doesn't quite fit in the lower tier of silver bundles. No longer do I have to spend $100 on a goddamn expansion every year because they locked significant portions of basic content behind the top tiers, making the supposedly $50 expansion in reality stupendously more expensive if you want all the content they advertise is available to you. Destiny 2 might be a truly awful game with little to no good content outside of Witch Queen in 2023, but Warframe in 2023?
Hot diggity dog! This place is magnificent.
Of course, the most important aspect when discussing MMO lights is their new player experience, and despite both of these games having truly horrific new player experiences, Warframe's is just vastly superior. The simple reason for this is how that awful bit of confusion you experience upon opening the game is not 1,000 different ad pop-ups about how much money you have to spend in order to get, let's face it, a few hours of good content and then pure pain, of which would make the average person assume they had adware infecting their PC. Instead, with Warframe, it's about how you're going to get through all the amazing free content which you're instantly chucked into, whereas Bungie instantly abuses their players with a ludicrous amount of e-begging, digital extremes waits until you're hooked already. Neither title fails to emotionally abuse you, however. After all, these are looter shooters. Warframe just does the psychological tormenting in a substantially superior manner. You aren't forced to open your wallet, but you will. It is certainly not a question of if you will, it is a question of when you will. And if you somehow magically manage to prevent the inevitable, you can bet your ass some fat fuck in his mother's basement is enough of a whale to fund the game's development for years, without you. Whether it be on the numerous fantastic cosmetics, a new prime frame, or platinum to speed up your builds, you will eventually spend money. I know, you're probably sitting here thinking, but I haven't spent any money on Warframe, and I never will, because the game doesn't force me to spend anything.
Wrong.
Much like Blizzard, Bungie is far too focused on milking you in the short term. The perfect case in point for Blizzard is Overwatch 2's cancellation of real PvE content. It was a decision funded by higher-ups wanting money now, not over the long term, with their guaranteed skin sales and battle pass sales brought on by a whole new extra community generated by campaign content on top of the existing PvP player base. Bungie's shining example of it is the undeniably falsely advertised scam known as the Lightfall, a result of Bungie's refusal to officially delay the next expansion and instead cobble together a joke of a DLC in a mere year in order to dry out their consumers and unfortunately ruin a decade's worth of world building in one foul swoop. The actual Lightfall DLC is the final shape, although in all honesty that is looking to also end up as another terrible mockery of what was once a promising future after Witch Queen dropped. The trailers alone fill me with a sense of dread due to their constant nostalgia baiting. These non-stop short-sighted business practices are exactly why you hate those games, and they deserve that hate. At every single turn, they are trying to abuse you into spending money instead of giving you a good gameplay experience that makes you want to spend money. What Warframe's business model does is slowly but surely draw the player in with brilliant gameplay and storytelling until they eventually buy some platinum. While a psychologically abusive tactic, as all good games feature, it is a far more healthy approach. Destiny 2 is the most non-free-to-play title in the history of free free-to-play titles. If you are a free player in Destiny, you have practically no content to enjoy. You don't even have the base game's campaign to enjoy because they fucking deleted it so that they could force players into instantly spending money. That is why the new player experience in Destiny sucks so much compared to Warframe. The new player experience in Destiny 2 doesn't exist. Well, I take that back. It does exist, and it's called opening your wallet. You never have to spend any money on Warframe. In fact, there is nothing directly pushing you to spend money. If you want to experience the best possible form of monetization in a truly free-to-play title, then go play Warframe. If you want to experience the worst form of self-proclaimed free-to-play titles which aren't actually free-to-play, then play Destiny 2. For Warframe, you have to go out of your way to interact with the in-game purchases, and that is why you will, eventually. Whether it be now or 7 years later during TennoCon 2030, you will spend your hard-earned cash on this game. But how can that be the case? Well, it's the amazing gameplay loop and grinding loop that Digital Extreme have perfected for years. Whereas Destiny 2 constantly promises you the experience of a true power fantasy, Warframe instantly delivers with its hyper-focus on fast-paced, fluid parkour combat. Playing this game makes you feel a high quite like no other. If you're a crack baby, I'd recommend this as an alternative. It's that goddamn addictive. At one point, I sunk in over 100 hours into the game in under 2 weeks since I had nothing better to do. It's also essentially an RPG given the insane amount of customization offered here. Every single aspect of your frames can be altered. From the countless cosmetic changes offered through a countless number of signed data, shoulder plates, leg plates, skins, and now halos, to the gameplay orientated offerings like mods which allow you to alter your ability duration, elemental effects, critical chance, and so on and so forth. All of which can also be applied to your weapons. As with most things, Destiny gives you the promise of true MMO customization, and it never truly delivers, but Warframe does. No matter your playstyle, there will be a frame for you, and a weapon pairing to go along with it that you will adore. And the navigation gives you access to quite literally hundreds of permanent activities across the 14 different planets. You hear that, Bungie? You can in fact simply not delete paid or free content if you fix your goddamn engine with the insane amount of money you gathered from Sony overpaying for your company. Not only do you have the usual permanent missions, you have weeklies, endgame activities like sorties, and the mid-game activities like void fissures that allow you to farm for prime gear. There does happen to be PvP on top of all this, but if you're a PvP refugee from Destiny, you'll have no luck here. It's not even worth me discussing.
Am I a joke to you?
All of this is available forever for you to enjoy without having to spend a single dime. Leveling up your frames plus weapons via all of these missions will cause you to increase your mastery rank. Hidden behind the higher tiers of this are often more tantalizing weapons, so that you constantly have something worth grinding for. After reaching around Uranus, at no point during your time with Warframe will you be clueless as to what you're playing the game to obtain. It's the only thing your poor little soul will know from when you begin your suffering. After all, the endless void of grinding consumes us all. The main criticism you'll see directed towards Warframe is the player-driven economy. While it does often conveniently alleviate a lot of the discomfort some may find from the grinding, it is nowhere near pay-to-win in my eyes. For me to claim this as pay-to-win, I would also have to claim Team Fortress 2 is, and I think we could all agree that obviously is not the case. Sure, you can purchase regular Aya and Platinum with real money, but you can also earn all of it in-game fairly quickly. Simply sell the scrap prime parts you have on your person or sell your precious upper class mods. The main gripe I currently have with the monetization is how bloody expensive everything is rapidly becoming. During TennoCon 2023, DE announced a new type of cosmetic called halos. These items are as described, but come with the extra perk of being adjustable. They're great, but they should not cost fucking 60 great British pounds to buy the set, or 70 great British pounds on console. That is quite literally the price of a whole ass AAA title. At most, cosmetics like these should cost $15 at most. I do, however, unfortunately highly doubt these prices are ever going to drop, considering the fact Warframe is getting half of a mobile port next year. I say half because we only know of an iOS version, which I find to be a particularly strange decision when you take into account how much larger the Android market actually is. I mean, even if we disregard the mobile port, this game is practically on everything at this point, from the Nintendo Switch, last gen consoles, PCs, to current gen. And soon to be mobile. I have utterly no idea how Digital Extremes manages to pull this off, given how massive the content additions are every year. Not to mention, I don't really care about the cosmetic prices so long as the actual content remains free. After all, Warframe basically adds an entirely new game to itself at least once a year. The Duvri paradox, their latest update, until the next, is the perfect example of this. It genuinely gave us an entirely new game inside of Warframe via a roguelike experience that's admittedly not too shabby. It is pretty damn good. Regardless, with such a drastic addition to the already wild number of platforms supported, I see no future where these cosmetic prices aren't continuously soaring to new heights above the already insane £74 on PlayStation, through inflating them with the addition of Platinum and or Regal Aya into the bundles. What's even more insane is how this monetization is still infinitely better than Bungie's, and although I'm not overly excited about the next update for Warframe myself, I am far more excited than I am about anything to do with Destiny, thanks to Bungie's unparalleled greed and seeming incompetency. So with all that being said, we have finally come to the end of my insanely depressing and yet simultaneously positive video discussing why, after nearly playing a decade of both games, I've finally given up on Destiny 2.